Hello, my name is Saul Cantu, and this is Texas Math Mundo. Today we have a real treat in store for us. We have the 2004 state champion in mathematics from Katy Taylor High School, Mr. Nitin Udpa. He has a really fascinating perspective to share. I hope you enjoy. Okay, Texas Math Mundo audience, we have ourselves a real treat today. The 2004 UIL State Mathematics Champion, Mr. Nitin Udpa. Welcome, Nitin.
Hi, Saul. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking, man. You're a proud Katy Taylor student?
That's correct, yeah.
All right. So let's start with the present.
Sure.
What are you up to nowadays?
Yeah, so I currently live in San Diego, California, and I work at a biotech company called Illumina as a bioinformatics scientist. Bioinformatics, in case you're not familiar, is basically just a very broad field for applying biology or applying computer science techniques in the field of biology. Specifically at Illumina, what we do is we determine the DNA sequences of things. So, just to give an example of something that we did, as everyone knows, COVID's been going on for the past year or so. And in order to kind of design a vaccine for COVID, what the mRNA companies like Moderna and Pfizer have had to do was to determine the DNA sequence of the COVID virus. And they used at least Moderna used our sequencers to determine the DNA sequence of the COVID vaccine to determine what they can target in their vaccines.
Are you serious? So your company has played a role in the vaccine for COVID?
Yeah, it's one of the bigger companies that you haven't heard of directly in many cases, right? Like the other things that we do, I don't know if you've seen like Ancestry.com or 23andMe on TV. When they do like genomic testing to determine kind of what part of the world you're from, they use our kind of DNA microarrays is what we call on the back end to kind of determine kind of at various locations of your genome, what bases you have and thus which parts of the world you can come from. So like a lot of the kind of, if you say kind of DNA sequencing or genome sequencing, like they're basically referring to kind of our technology on the back end. And specifically our team, what we do as bioinformatics scientists is our company basically sells cameras and kind of what we call flow cells, which are kind of areas in which people can load their DNA onto to kind of take a picture of. And our team's role is to take those pictures and convert them into the A, C, G, and T nucleotides that essentially biologists and downstream people can use to interpret, for determining, say, the virus sequence or ancestry or anything like that. It's pretty cool stuff.
Hey, I'm already captivated. Forget UIL. I want to talk about this for the next hour.
Yeah. Sounds good, yeah.
This is awesome. I was going to ask you, what impact does bioinformatics scientists makes on the world? And apparently you all make quite an impact on the world.
Yeah, it's just one small component of bioinformatics. But yeah, in general, anything involving kind of biology determination, the whole world is moving towards computational determination of things, right? Wow. And anything in the biology field, which kind of is a big field for all these sorts of activities, I think bioinformatics scientists can play a role in figuring out.
Well, it sounds fascinating. It sounds like you wake up every day to do some fascinating stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the reason I'm in the job, basically. Right?
Awesome, Nitin. Awesome. How you been handling the pandemic? You all been staying safe over there? You've been working from home?
Yeah, we've been working from home for the past year or so. I've been kind of pretty lucky in that my parents actually have been visiting me right when the pandemic hit. So they've kind of been, they originally live in India, but they've been kind of stuck here over the past year. So I've got nice home cooked food and everything like that for me for the past year.
Okay.
So it's been really nice in that sense. But yeah, sorry.
Are your parents still in Katy?
No, they're in India actually.
Oh, they're in India.
They moved back to India after I moved to San Diego.
Oh, wow. Okay, wow.
So they've been kind of in San Diego for the past year, just dealing with COVID with me. But we're having fun. We play games every night and things like that.
Hey, it's nice to have family. It's nice to have a home cooked meal.
It's nice.
Wow. That's really interesting. Wow. So, as fascinating as work is, what I'm saying, I'm sure, it's very fascinating to me what you just said. Wow. Aside work, do you have any hobbies, interests? What do you do?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I've been taking a lot of online classes during the pandemic in particular. So I think I just finished a machine learning class, the Andrew Ng one on Coursera. I'm doing an astronomy one now, just kind of all sorts of fields. There's a nice literature one I did a while before that, just kind of broadening my horizons.
I love it. You never stop learning, right?
Exactly, yeah.
I love it, man. So that's great. So you just expanding your mind, man, and taking all these classes and
I think there's so many kind of advancements in the field and kind of new areas that I haven't really thought of much since high school or even earlier, probably ever in some cases. So it's good to kind of see what's going on, see where things are going, see maybe are there any cool ideas that I can think of and contribute to. It's fun to just broaden my mind, I think, as you say.
So for those those who may watch this video who don't know where Katy Taylor High School is, how would you explain it?
Katy's kind of a suburb west of Houston. If you just go on the 10 west for, I guess it's kind of right on the border. Actually, we lived in Houston but went to school in Katy. Okay. Kind of that's how close we were to the border. But yeah, it's a suburb. I think it's probably growing quite a bit since I went to school in 2004. But
do you ever make it back here?
I went, I guess, 5 or 6 years ago for a friend's wedding, but I haven't gone super recently.
Okay.
But it was, I think they expanded the highway by about 5 times from when I was around. So
it's big.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to get into some of your past because I'm very curious about the forces that shape such a math genius like yourself. I really want to get into the past. So where are you from? Born and raised?
So I was born in India, I guess. I moved to the U.S. when I was about 3 or 4 months old. Kind of moved around a little bit, but went to Houston, I guess, when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and kind of grew up in Houston, in kind of the West Houston area, near the Katy border. I guess I've always kind of been interested in kind of math to some extent. I think it kind of started in probably 6th grade is kind of the first time when I was like, hey, I'm actually kind of good at this math thing. There's an exam, I forget the name of the exam.
Math
counts?
An exam.
I did a couple math counts tournaments, I guess, in elementary school timeline. I wasn't very good at math counts, honestly.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But I did a couple events kind of back in the day. But I think the first time when I actually did well in a math event was there's a event through my middle school. Where everyone took I think it's a 40-question test or something like that. And
what's the name of your middle school? Let's give them some credit here.
Sorry?
Let's give them some credit. What's the name of your middle school?
Memorial Parkway Junior High.
Oh, okay. And were they the ones who kind of introduced you to competitive mathematics?
Not really competitive even then, honestly. I mean, the math counts things was through kind of a friend who was kind of homeschooled at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't go through my educational system, but competitive mathematics really only came about, I think, in my junior year of high school, I'd say.
And
yeah,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So basically, I joined the UIL team at that point in my junior year of high school. I was actually pretty worried about UIL at the time because I heard that there's a lot of geometry questions. I just didn't like geometry, to be honest. But I liked algebra and calculus and things like that. And so I thought, I'll just give it a shot and see what happened.
Yeah. So, did you seek them or did they come seek you?
It's a little bit of both. A couple of my friends were on the team who were kind of in a year senior to me. And they were just like, hey, we think you'd be a great fit if you want to join. And, so then I went there and I, took a kind of a practice test with, a few other people kind of at the start of the year. And I guess the rest is history to some extent.
And this was what grade?
11th grade. My junior.
That seems a little late to me, but wow, it's because you became state champion. Wow, so you really had a quick trajectory, a rapid rise.
But even before that, like I think I had taken in my middle school, I had advanced ahead in math to the point where I had to go to my high school, to Taylor High School, in my 8th grade for math class. I did algebra 2 class in Taylor High School as an 8th grader. So every day my mom had to travel back and forth to drive me because I wasn't old enough to drive at the time. So I mean, I was very interested in math but I just never really did the competitive side of things until 11th grade.
Well, first of all, I'm impressed that Katy Taylor and your junior high would accommodate you to actually do that. Yeah,
I mean, they were very accommodating in terms of their flexibility, in terms of doing whatever classes I wanted. I think even in my senior year, actually, I'd finished all the math classes by my junior year of high school because I started kind of in junior high. My senior year of high school, there were 7 courses I could take, and so I took 5 science classes out of 7. Right, so it's my way of being able to kind of see kind of the breadth of science and also to kind of focus on the science thing without spending a lot of time doing kind of other activities at the time.
Oh, wow. That, I really love that. I love that they do accommodate you. I love that you were given these opportunities, man. That really, warms my heart about the public education system. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a great high school. I really enjoyed that's kind of the time I was able to explore and enjoy a lot of the work I was doing.
Awesome. So when was it exactly that you realized you had a consciousness that you were good at this math thing?
Yeah, I think it was that 6th grade exam is when I first realized I was fairly good at math. I mean, I got a perfect score on that test in 6th grade. 7th grade, I think we had to do the PSATs. And at that time, I got like a 770 out of 800 on math.
Wow.
Which, it's pretty good considering it's meant for kind of college entrance stuff.
For a 7th grader, you said, right? For what grade are you in?
7th grade, yeah. Sorry, it's not the PSATs actually. It's the kind of we took the SATs as kind of like a practice.
Yeah. Oh wow. So what kind of study habits did you have?
Honestly, I wouldn't say there's anything specific for competitive stuff. Again, partly because I joined kind of late. It's mostly just if I enjoyed doing it or working on it, I just kept reading ahead in the textbooks and doing just random questions for fun.
So it doesn't feel like work when you're having fun, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think my pre-calculus class, I was the guy who always read 2 chapters ahead in my class, kind of nerdy, I guess, in that sense.
Well, that's awesome. They have this saying that find something you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love it.
That's good advice in general. Yeah.
So, who inspires you? Did you have inspirations back then? Where there's a specific teacher, your parents? What was your inspiration?
Yeah, I had many inspirations. I think my parents are one example. I think my dad, was kind of a successful engineer. Went to vice president and eventually like a CEO of a company later on. My mom, she was a hard worker. As I mentioned already, she was the one who was to shuffle me from junior high to high school every day just to let me go to math class. And they're just both like really kind people and just good, smart, good, and just perfect the way I thought of it basically. From kind of a school point of view, I had an elementary teacher named Miss Kelly, who was with me kind of right from it's kind of the gifted and talented teacher they had, and she was kind of everything kind of I did. She was the sort of person who would kind of back me up on it. I felt so having that sort of confidence as kind of I guess even a 5-year-old at the time.
Miss Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Cool.
And not just her. I mean, there are plenty of teachers along the way.
Sure.
I mean, I could name Mr. Peterson, Miss Marchbanks. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I think. It's just
great.
So many teachers along the way that have been they've been so inspirational to like me learning, enjoying school. I guess is probably the right way to put it.
Awesome. So it looks like. I'm sure you had a lot of natural, good student characteristics, but it does help to have teachers to help foster your talent.
Yeah, definitely. I think if the teacher kind of makes you feel like this is something that you want to do. To your point, you want to do it more, right?
Yeah.
You want to learn more. You want to do better.
Oh, absolutely. Awesome. It doesn't seem like your parents had to be too strict on you. Looked like you were probably more of a natural sort of talent.
Yes and no. My parents, like, the way they punished me actually was taking away my books so I couldn't read when I was I was that sort of kid. But,
that's wonderful. I love that story. Oh.
But yeah, it's one of those things where, I think as long as I kind of focused on education and things like that, they were pretty cool.
Awesome. So I do want to get to that 2004 school year. So I can't emphasize this enough. You were the state champion of the state of Texas in mathematics. When you consider how vast the state of Texas is, all the hundreds of thousands of students, and to be number one, I'm in awe of you, Nitin. You know what I'm saying? Just to be number one is so fascinating to me. Like, that's why I'm so happy you've agreed to this interview. What do you recall?
I'm surprised too that I made it.
What do you recall about that 2004 season?
There were a lot of memories, I think, about that season. So I think I started the year on 4 teams at the district level for our school: math, science, computer science, and number sense.
Yes.
And I guess in those 4, at the regional level, I guess we were a very strong team as a school, I think, overall. In addition to being a very good science team, a very good computer science team, I think social studies had just opened up that year, and we were very strong in social studies as well. Yeah. And so, I think those 3, and also we had a lot of decent players in math and journalism and that side of things as well. But I think those 3 were kind of the big 3. I think that we were kind of banking on as a school.
Well, you all did become science state champions. You were the state champions in science that year.
And computer science as well. Yeah. Oh. So.
And you were second place individual in science. I saw it.
It was, yeah. That was, it's a lot of luck, I think. But, also kind of, I think those classes that I took probably helped, in their own way.
So you're Region 3. So Katy Taylor's Region 3. And, I was very active in those days. So I would pay attention. I took my team as a coach. We went to all the local area tournaments, And, so what surprised me when I see the results and I saw a certain Nitin Udpa back in those days, I was like, I don't remember seeing you at any of the local tournaments. So how'd you get so good? What kind of practice regimen did you all have? Did you go to any tournaments?
I think that's the funny thing, right? We didn't really practice a lot in things like math, I think. We went to a couple small tournaments, I think, in Clements and 1 or 2 other kind of local ones, but not super active in the math tournaments in the area or, academic tournaments in general. But a lot of our studying was mostly actually in computer science, I think. I think as a team, we did, I guess, or let me put it this way: the only thing we studied for specifically for UIL, I would say, is number sense, because there's a lot of tricks and techniques for memorizing, squares and all sorts of things like that. But a lot of our practice time was just spent kind of programming random projects and things like that on the computer science side. And other than that, it's just kind of through the classes and things like that. And the occasional practice test here or there. But a lot of the thing was picked up through just the science and math classes that we all took, I think.
Nitin, you're giving me a high impression of Katy Taylor High School.
I think a few years before we had joined, they won the whole country academic decathlon tournament.
Wow. Katy Taylor.
Really strong with a lot of kind of the academic side of things, I think.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm just kind of curious, since you made it, how did y'all do in computer science that year? Did y'all win?
In 2004, we won computer science.
Oh, wow. Individually, how did you do?
I'd like to think I was 7th. I was just outside the top, like a medal, but
still impressive, though.
Yeah, it was a really strong team for computer science. I think in our region, I was the 4th in the region, and I was the 4th on my team. So this goes to show you how strong the team was, I think.
Wow. And what was the language y'all took? What was the language?
I think my senior year, we switched to Java. My junior year, I think we were in C++. So.
Okay, cool.
I think it was Java.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I was going to ask, do you remember your coaches? Do you remember your teammates?
So I think the overall coordinator of the UIL program at Taylor High School was our computer science teacher, actually named Miss George. And I think the different kind of subfields had their own sort of teachers in charge and that sort of thing. I guess my teammates, a lot of them became my good friends, just in part just through kind of being at these tournaments and meets with them. I guess my college roommate, Jeff Chen, was a computer science teammate. My best friend at the time, a guy named Zion, was in math and science and things like that. He was the guy. We were always sort of like competing to see who can get the best out of on the team for all these sorts of events, and that really kind of pushed us. Sorry?
When competition drives you to excel, everybody wins.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I love about the UIL stuff. So these became lifelong friends?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I'm not in super close touch with them since, I think they've all, we've all kind of gotten our own lives now.
Sure.
We have our own jobs, our own families, things like that. But, every once in a while we do meet up, or wish each other on birthdays and things like that.
Oh, so. Wow. Okay. Cool. So I'm sure that UIL experience really enhanced your high school experience.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Just, I think it really, I'd say it gave me more of a love of things like computer science and things like that. Just kind of being able to compete, being able to see that I was fairly good at it. It made me think that, I might have a future in this sort of thing.
Yeah. Down the line. Wow. Wow. I got a question. Do you have a favorite calculator?
Not particularly, honestly. But the funny thing with calculator is that at the time, I didn't there were only scientific calculators allowed in the math and science test. I didn't own a scientific calculator. I had a TI-85 at the time, a graphic calculator.
Yeah.
So I had to borrow a calculator from my dad's office for the state exam. And it was kind of, at the time I thought it was a curse, but it ended up being a blessing because the calculator had very low battery. And so it just, some of the buttons just started not working during the math exam. So the division key just didn't work.
Really? During the math exam in which you became the state champion?
Exactly. So I was, really frustrated. I was thinking, I can't divide anything. Maybe I can, but there was an inverse key. So I could hit the inverse key and then a multiply. So it was one button. So I was really kind of frustrated at the time, thinking this is going to cost me doing anything good in this exam. And then eventually I was just like, this isn't working very well because even the multiply key stopped working reliably.
During the exam?
During the exam, I was just like, I don't know what I can do here. So I started resorting to mental math techniques, the number sense techniques almost, to solve as many of the easier questions as I can. I changed the way I did the exam. And, as a result, I went through, I forget exactly how many questions, but it was something like 60 questions total. And I went through 58 of them just because I just went through quickly and just said, okay, just find the last digit. If the last digit is 6, only one of these has a 6, I'm just going to pick that one. Right.
Wow.
And because I went through the exam that quickly, everyone else that I talked to was, I only did 50 right. I only did, 45 of the 60 because this was a really long exam.
Yes.
I think the calculator breaking down ended up helping me in the end, which is kind of
wow.
Funny if you think about it. But at the time, I was really just annoyed at the calculator.
That's very fascinating to me for a guy who's thoroughly familiar with that math contest and thoroughly that kind of ended up being a blessing in disguise to a certain extent.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I was actually at the time, I thought I did terribly even after that, just because I wasn't able to just confirm everything in the calculator directly. Right.
Yeah.
And so they asked for people to verify the test scores at the end or anything like that. I didn't even go see my score. I just thought, this time is better spent studying for science and computer science rather than checking my score.
What a story. What a story. That's an incredible story. I'm really fascinated with that story. So, how did you find out you were actually number one?
At the end, when they were at the award ceremony afterwards, the school that I guess I expected to win coming into the UIL was Klein High School because they were just dominant in kind of all the events that we went to, even though we didn't go to a lot of them. And basically there were two guys on that team, Brad Dodson and Raj Atri, who were, no matter what, if I was in the same event as those two, I'm probably fighting for third, it's that thing.
I know that team pretty well because I know the coach very well, Josie Mallory. For decades she was there. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I know the dominance.
Yeah, they were a really strong team, and
Yes.
it was just the sort of thing where at the award ceremony, Raj came up and was like, nobody picked up this exam that had the highest score, the test, and nobody knows who actually won. But the winning score was, I forget what even the winning score was, but like say 216 or whatever the number ended up being. And I just did the math quickly, and with like the number of questions I got right, it meant that if I had missed like 4 or 5, then I would have gotten that score, right?
Wow.
And so that made me think, okay, it might be me somehow, which even though the score than I, expected to win the tournament, it's entirely possible it was me, just because no one had picked it up, and it's within the realm of possibility of possible scores I could have gotten.
Oh wow, that's wow. So how did it feel when you found out you were number one? How did it feel to be like state champion? Do you remember the emotions?
It felt great, honestly. I mean, I was completely unexpected. Just as I mentioned, like I thought I just bombed it after the calculator issues, and just to be kind of surprised by that was a blessing. But at the same time, I knew I had to kind of slow myself down a little bit to prepare, because I think the science and computer science things were coming up too. Right. I didn't want to just say, okay, I'm the winner, and like just leave my teammates occupied for those two things, right? So I had to
you'd have to wait to enjoy it, to really absorb it afterwards.
Right. But yeah, after the event ended, I think we went to school and just had a picture with the rest of the team. And actually, I don't have the picture with me anymore, but I just remember bringing all my medals from district, region, and state up to take that picture. And,
yes.
Just kind of like
awesome.
a nice sort of like floating feeling after all those years of hard work, basically.
Yeah, and I agree with that picture. Academic excellence should be applauded. So I'm happy, that they took the time to take a nice picture with the medals. That should be done. I'm very happy to hear that. So
yeah, and our school won for the first time the state. With the top point total in the 5A division.
Oh, the sweepstakes! You're the sweepstakes academic champions.
Yeah, for the first time, I think. So we were all really excited about that.
And you were an integral part of that.
Yeah, I'd like to think I played a good role in that.
Absolutely. So where do you keep that gold medal?
I actually gave it to my parents. So they're holding it in kind of in their house in India. But yeah, I mean, it's basically, honestly, like all the medals and awards I've done are in large part because they put in the effort to kind of instill these sorts of things in me over the years. So, I mean, they deserve to kind of display it wherever they want to. So.
Something tells me about, medal or no medal, your parents are probably extremely proud of you,
I hope so.
Yeah, well, you've done a lot to make them proud.
No, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is kind of a hard question, but like looking back on that year and all this stuff, what's your favorite memory?
I guess in the direct memory, I think it's just I think it's the time when I think there's a couple of them. I think the when I won the math event, obviously, like when that moment when I realized, okay, that score could actually be mine, and actually mine. I think that was the specific memory that I remember the most. And then the other thing was computer science, our team winning that tournament. Because when I came in, I wasn't that, I like computer science, but I wasn't that much into computer science. And just over the year, just practicing with the team and doing all sorts of cool things like that, I grew to kind of love computer science. And as we mentioned at the beginning, right, I'm now in a computer science field, right, as part of my job. So I think just essentially building up to the point where I'm part of a team that is good enough to win the state. From where kind of I started, I think that point really was a highlight for me too.
Oh, I bet. To be in the point where you're an integral part of a team that actually is good enough to win the state champion. Oh, I completely.
And that team was, I think the 4 guys on the team. One guy went to Amazon and did all sorts of great things at Amazon. One guy went to a company called Indeed, which at the time I was just like, oh, that's just a monster knockoff. It's not going to be anything much. And now they're dominant with the job search thing. Right? Probably in large part because of what he's doing. A lot of great people kind of on that team.
Yes, and then one of them went to go work with Lumina, doing bioinformatics science.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
We're all in our own way, right?
So where was college? Where'd you go to college?
So along with a lot of my UIL friends, we went to UT Austin for. At the time, actually going into college, I thought I was going to be a medical doctor. because I mean that's kind of the Indian thing to do, honestly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but yeah, so and I had an uncle, grandparents, a lot of relatives who were also doctors. It just seemed like a cool thing to do. So I went to UT Austin thinking I'm going to just do like a pre-med sort of thing and then go to a med school after that.
Yeah.
And at UT Austin, I studied biomedical engineering, which is a new field at the time. But it's a similar sort of thing where it's trying to determine using kind of essentially engineering in biology. So it's kind of a similar sort of field where it combines math, biology, kind of more as an integrated sort of field. And it just kind of appealed to me based off of all the things I did at UIL and kind of in school. And from there, I was just like, do I really want to do medicine, like just plain medicine after this, or do I want to stay in this sort of integrated, applied, computer science and biology, or math and biology, or whatever together? And I thought, yeah, I mean, this latter path of merging everything together, I think, is probably the better path for me.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful. I tell you, it sounds beautiful. Just integrating all those different disciplines.
Yeah, I mean, I think the future is computational in all these sorts of science fields. So, I think.
So I was going to ask, do you feel that UIL might have had a role, an impact to help you out a little bit for college and career?
Yeah. I mean, I think we already kind of talked about this a little bit, right? Where I didn't really I like computer science, but I didn't really see myself like loving computer science at the time. And then being in UIL, practicing with the team every day, made me really kind of love computer science, I feel. And not only that, but, math and science and that sort of thing made me want to kind of do this interdisciplinary thing for undergrad and grad school after that. And then, and my current career as well.
I'm looking at the next question here, and it feels kind of stupid now. It says, do you still enjoy mathematics?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like everything we do these days, even at Illumina, has some indirect link to mathematics, at least, right? Like programming, the base unit of everything is logic and that side of things, and just the whole concept of looping and all that is just basic, algebra. Statistics are used for determining, pretty much every decision that our company makes, right? As to, should we go this path or that path in terms of manufacturing, that sort of thing. And even kind of the more sort of high school level math every once in a while pops its head up. Like I think a couple of months ago, I had to figure out the overlap between a circle and a rectangle, that sort of thing, which is fairly simple geometry thing. But brushed off a few neurons that hadn't been used in a little bit. It was kind of fun.
So I have a question here that's kind of related to a previous question. I had asked you what you find most memorable, but this question here says, looking back, what do you value the most about your UIL experience?
I think it's basically the time I spent practicing for it, and also like the friends I'd made along the way. I think are kind of the two related components on it. I think a lot of my best friends at the time and going forward all took part in UIL with me. I think, and I think there's a reason for that. That we just spent a lot of time together and learned a lot of things together, right? And then the skills as well, not just the people, right? Of computer science, science, math, all those together, I think, are the two things. Beautiful.
So I consider this the most momentous moment of the interview. For posterity's sake, if a young person or any student were to come across this interview, what advice would you give that person?
I mean, if they're in the high school or undergrad level, I would say this is the time to explore. This is the time to kind of see what you love to do, what you want to do, for the rest of your life, right? I mean, because your career is something you should be doing, 20, 30, 40 years, into the future, right? And as you were saying, I think earlier, if you love doing something, you don't feel like it's work. You actually kind of, enjoy doing it. You want to do it. You want to learn. You want to improve. So I think this is the time as kind of the high school or beyond where you want to see what exactly it is that you want to do, what you love to do, that you see yourself doing.
Great advice.
As much as you can, I think, yeah.
That's great advice. So what does the future hold for Nitin Udpa?
That's a good question. As far as the future, I think, yeah, hopefully more contributions to the field of bioinformatics at Illumina, or maybe elsewhere. We'll see. Hopefully at Illumina, but at a company that's making a change in the world. That's the hope. I think just I guess that's kind of the main thing, as far as just kind of keep on keeping on, of like improving as a person, as a scientist, and in the world in general.
That's awesome, man. You seem to be very blessed, man, to be in the position you are, doing what you're doing. I'm really envious.
I love it. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a great sort of area to be in, and a great sort of environment, I think, in general.
That's awesome, Nitin. That's awesome. So, do you have any parting words as we conclude this interview?
I mean, just thank you, Saul, for taking the time to hear my story, and hopefully it inspires someone down the line to kind of follow my path.
Nitin, I thank you, man. I really enjoy your perspective. I think what you've shared today was beautiful. I enjoy it. It's inspiring to me, man. It's inspiring to me. I do have to share this. In 2004, I was a younger coach, I guess we're all younger, right? But
sure, yeah.
I used to pay attention because I was a very enthusiastic. I would take my teams to the tournaments. I'm still devoted, right? I love this stuff. But in 2004, I remember seeing those results, and I remember saying, "Who is this Nitin Udpa guy? Who is he? Who is he?" And so, all these years later, being able to have this conversation with you is really golden to me. It's golden, man.
Full circle, right?
I'm glad, because I remember being very curious about that name that was state champion. I was like, wow, Nitin Udpa, state champion. Who is this kid? Because I used to pay attention to all the local tournaments, and like you say, you all just made a sparse appearance here or there, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, as I mentioned, right, I thought Klein would win, Brad or Rod or one of those people. I was surprised, as you were, I think, at this. So,
So here's the deal, Nitin. If you ever do find yourself back in Houston, sure. If you ever do, give me a call. We'll go get some tacos. I'll treat.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and if you ever make your way down to San Diego, it's a nice time. Yeah, nice weather all year round.
Oh, I hear great things about San Diego.
Oh yeah, it's a great city.
Hey, but tell me, you're still a Astros fan, or a Texans fan, or a Houston fan?
A Rockets fan. The Texans. I mean, they were the way they've been managed the past few years. I don't know if I.
Good point. There's always hope.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to reiterate, I thank you very much, Nitin. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, man.
Well, thank you, Saul. And yeah, have a great rest of your day.
All right, you fare well, okay?
All right, you too.
Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed that discussion with Mr. Nitin Udpa. That was fascinating. I love his perspective. It's my hope to bring many more interviews, many more perspectives to this channel. It would really help me out that if you like this content, is if you would please hit the like button, make a comment below, and please subscribe. It would really help me out and help this channel grow. I really appreciate it. My name is Saul Cantu, and this is Texas Math Mundo. Farewell.